Welcome to the Smooth Trading with Cycles channel. It is November 30th. It is 3:52, so 8 minutes until close. So I don't expect anything too crazy is going to happen to change these candles, but who knows, right? But I tweeted about this. We'll do an update on precious metals today. We'll look at GDX, we'll look at gold, and we'll look at silver. I do have a separate video going through the live reaction to the Powell remarks. You'll see a link in the description to that, and also some links at the end of this video, and you should see something come up in the upper right hand corner at some point to give you a chance to take a look at that video, which goes over really all asset classes, relatively quick touch on each. But we'll look at gold, we'll look at GDX here to start. So this is your daily chart, and on any one of my charts, the yellow line is always the 200 period moving average. So in this case, that's your 200 week moving average. Notice we have been below that, pretty solidly below that since, well, actually, yikes. So we first took our trip down there in December 2020, right? So we've been below our 200-day moving average basically for 2 years, right? We had these brief excursions above it, like right here, where that obviously failed. Here, way above it, and that failed again. Here we failed right below it, and now we're consolidating right below it. It's day 20, so it's relatively late. It's getting later in the daily cycle, so that's not ideal. But if we look back at older daily cycles, like let's think about, let's say like this one here, right? That is a rally of 36 days. Now, I'm certainly not usually one to look at the most positive scenario, and I'm not saying that's what we should expect by any means. But it gives you just a sense, right? Like of, okay, that was a little 36-day rally. This was a little, 35-day rally. That's interesting. So, and there's certainly going to be dips along the way, pullbacks. I think what you would think, what you'd imagine is we certainly at least test the 200-day moving average. Now it's still declining, so with every passing day it gets lower and it kind of comes to meet price. And so I've always been thinking that 33, maybe even 35 was a good kind of target for this. And if you look at the weekly chart, we're on week 9. And I mean, even last cycle rallied for 12 weeks. So you could easily see us have at least a few weeks more of a rally, which is why if you think about the different cycles, the way they coincide, you would imagine we have more to go in this daily cycle advance, because we're probably still because we're still advancing in the weekly cycle. And not just, not a coincidence. It's because we've been in this downtrend for 2 years. We are below the 200-week moving average as well. We're hovering right below it. That is right now right around 31, and that's not falling as quickly as the 200-day moving average, which we imagine we maybe come and try to test that. We didn't fall below that sort of solidly until earlier this year, actually. So June 2022, excuse me. So we've been below that relatively recently. Now, it could be that that's where we reverse, right? Because we're going to need to be on guard for the weekly cycle decline, right? So, because we're already on week 9. Really bullish cycle coming out of COVID lasted 21 weeks. So that was a really optimistic one. In the past, you had one for 18 weeks. The cycle going into COVID was 15 weeks. So that just gives you a good frame of reference. Expecting a rally for more than 20 weeks, or even expecting a rally that's 20 weeks is probably a little aggressive. So we want to manage expectations. All of this is to say there's going to be an imperative to take profits quickly, I suspect, in the next few weeks. And so one needs to make sure they're looking for the right signals, right? And if we go to the monthly chart, also important, it's the last day of the November. So the November candle is closing. Look at this bullish monster of a candle. That the blue line on charts is always the 10 period moving average. So in this case, it's a monthly chart. So you can see we're just trying to get above the 10 period moving average. So you imagine we make a move above that as well. So that's all going to coincide. The 200-day moving average, the 200-week moving average, and the 10-month moving average, right? So that's GDX. This one is looking good. And did we make a quarterly swing low yet? Yes, we did, folks. That's right. So above 28.37 is a quarterly swing low. As long as we can stay above that, that is a major bottoming signal, and something that we want to see ourselves close above that for the year, right? It's for the Q4 candle. So that's GDX. Let's move on to silver. We'll do gold last. So silver is in an interesting spot, right? Because it is, right, we suspected that it was in daily cycle decline, and it is possible that, so day 23, 24, 25, 26, it's possible that day 26 was actually our daily cycle low, right? At one point it looked like it might be when we had this nice little follow through. We caught a swing low, but then we had this reverse, and we talked about that in real time. This is the kind of pattern, lower high, that suggests the lower low is coming. But man, look at what we got today, because of our obvious catalyst. Now, we didn't make a new high for the daily cycle just yet, but this to me, and again, yellow line is your 200-day moving average. Let's add the 10-day moving average, short-term moving average. So you can see the daily cycle topped on day 22. We know that. That seems pretty clear. And then we definitely dropped below the 10-period moving average when we dropped into that day 26 low. So it's totally possible that this is a new cycle. We just closed above it in really stylish fashion. If you want to draw a little declining trend line here, that's the thing to keep in mind, that in bullish scenarios, you get shallow DCLs. Just like in bearish scenarios, you get really sharp DCLs that last a long time, that decline a really long bit. So that is really interesting here, right? Because again, this suggests to you, okay, we're going to go and make that other lower low. But now this price action just said, oh, nope, we're going in the other direction. Now, what I'll say for the next few days is we're probably going to see some consolidation. You don't tend to get just like, one trend move after another. But this is a nice big candle, like this nice big candle, like this one. I mean, this one got reversed eventually, so that's not great. But that looks positive. That's your daily chart. So if that were the case, that would make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's important to be aware of, that would put us at day 7 of the new daily cycle. So we're not exactly early. We're not super early in the daily cycle either. So that's important to know. And I had my target here as our daily cycle low target. I mean, it's totally possible that we'll come back here and test that, but that looks unlikely now. I'm happy to be wrong, right? And so what does this do to the weekly chart? What it does is it gives us a new high on the week. No, it doesn't. That's right, because we didn't make a new high on the daily cycle. Just about almost getting there. But it is week 13, so we have to think about that. Similar to the GDX, a really bullish cycle for silver was 20 weeks, and we're here already on week 13. So we have to be a little bit sober about this. Now, totally possible we get a rally that's 20 weeks. That'd be great. But know that that would be one of the longest weekly cycle rallies silver has had. And of course, that next rally was 19 weeks, the one after the top. But I mean, what a bearish rally this was. This was your silver squeeze top. Like you've seen, if you look, just these numbers at the top tell you the length of the rallies, right? So you have this rally that's 18 weeks. But this one was 21, right? So low 20s is really optimistic. So that's good context. We'll be watching it very closely, of course. And monthly's looking super bullish, just like GDX. And that's right, we do have a quarterly swing low in place above $20.87 for silver. Very positive. Let's flip over to gold. So gold was in an interesting spot because it was looking like it made a top on day 8. And it still is a high for now. But now we're obviously seeing a nice bullish move. That is day 19, right? So that's interesting, right? That you would expect that we're going to make a new high above here, and we also have the 200-day moving average in this case that we're going to expect to make a move above. And look at how the weekly's shaping up. We make a new high on the weekly. To be clear, that makes this a little swing low. That's a beautiful little higher swing low. That is bullish, folks. Now, again, you expect us to take out this high, see how we react there. Now, notorious the markets are for making big reversals, the day after, or a couple days after a big event. And we know that we have the jobs report on Friday, so a lot to happen still. But this gives us a sense of how we're looking on the... So, wait, let's go to the monthly first. Yeah, big bullish monthly candle, suggesting that September was actually our 8-year cycle low. That's when we made a low at 16.15, right? We made a, like, this was essentially like a little triple bottom kind of thing. But I mean, look at this big decline, and then you have boom, your November monthly candle to kind of answer it. So now, obviously, we want to see something like that for the December candle, and then, for good measure, a nice January candle like that. We'll probably get a retrace at some point. You wouldn't expect us to just take out this whole move with just a string of green candles with no wick, but that's the next kind of move we're going to be looking for. But the quarterly is your next really important signal. That has a high at 1814. I've talked about that before. So I would expect that we're going to at least test that level in the next couple weeks, see how we react to it. Hopefully we get above it. Silver, as we know, is already above it. GDX is already above that level. So gold is lagging now, which actually isn't a bad thing, right? Gold lagging is, silver leading, I should say, is bullish. And speaking of silver leading, let's just look at the gold to silver ratio to kind of close this out. Ooh, that's nice. Look at what we just did on the daily. Look at that. So this was our little swing high, right, on day 7. Then we had this decline. Then we had this rally. What kind of rally is this? This is a lower high to this. And now we're making a lower low. This is positive. We want to see gold underperforming silver. We want to see silver outperforming gold. And on the weekly level, you can see we're almost making new lows on the weekly cycle. Again, this is all good. This all bodes well. And most importantly, on this higher time frame, look at this monthly chart. Look what's happening. We have this really bearish November monthly close. And so what we want to see is some follow through, right? The next few months. And this will all mean that silver is having a nice monster rally relative to gold, but generally speaking, you would expect it to be in absolute terms as well. And if you look at what this means for the quarterly. So to be clear, we have a swing high, in place below $85 basically, or I should say 85, the ratio of gold to silver, right? Which is a lower high to that, right? And now we're spilling over. And on the quarterly chart, what do we have, folks? We have a swing high in place. And that swing high on the quarterly chart is in place, right? It's actually the same level, 84.75. And that's important because remember we said gold does not have a swing low in place, but silver does. That makes sense. So you would expect the gold to silver ratio to have a swing high in place because gold is outperforming silver. Or because silver is outperforming gold. And so we imagine we're going to take a trip down to, what is that, 76 by the end of the year at least. You would expect we kind of break down this kind of level. And then that's when you would kind of expect this is going to coincide with a big rally in silver. So really exciting stuff to come, potentially. Again, we do have to temper ourselves knowing the way rallies tend to unfold on the weekly cycle level. So we're going to be watching that very closely to remain cautiously bullish, but long. So that's all we have. We'll leave it there. Thanks for watching.